Hello everyone, I am so happy that you're here and welcome to lesson number 72 of A Course in Miracles. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. While we have recognized that the ego's plan for salvation is the opposite of God's, we have not yet emphasized that it is an active attack on his plan and a deliberate attempt to destroy it. In the attack, God is assigned the attributes which are actually associated with the ego, while the ego appears to take on the attributes of God. The ego's fundamental wish is to replace God. In fact, the ego is the physical embodiment of that wish, for it is that wish that seems to surround the mind with a body, keeping it separate and alone, and unable to reach other minds except through the body that was made to imprison it. The limit on communication cannot be the best means to expand communication. Yet the ego would have you believe that it is. Although the attempt to keep the limitations that a body would impose is obvious here, it is perhaps not so apparent why holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. But let us consider the kinds of things you are apt to hold grievances for. Are they not always associated with something a body does? A person says something you do not like. He does something that displeases you. He betrays his hostile thoughts in his behavior. You are not dealing here with what the person is. On the contrary, you are exclusively concerned with what he does in a body. You are doing more than failing to help in freeing him from the body's limitations. You are actively trying to hold him to it by confusing it with him and judging them as one. Herein is God attacked. For if his son is only a body, so must he be as well. A creator wholly unlike his creation is inconceivable. If God is a body, what must his plan for salvation be? What could it be but death? In trying to present himself as the author of life and not death, he is a liar and a deceiver, full of false promises and offering illusions in place of truth. The body's apparent reality makes this view of God quite convincing. In fact, if the body were real, it would be difficult indeed to escape this conclusion. And every grievance that you hold insists that the body is real. It overlooks entirely what your brother is. It reinforces your belief that he is a body and condemns him for it. And it asserts that his salvation must be death, projecting this attack onto God and holding him responsible for it. To this carefully prepared arena where angry animals seek for prey and mercy cannot enter, the ego comes to save you. God made you a body. Very well. Let us accept this and be glad. As a body, do not let yourself be deprived of what the body offers. Take the little you can get. God gave you nothing. The body is your only savior. It is the death of God and your salvation. This is the universal belief of the world you see. Some hate the body and try to hurt and humiliate it. Others love the body and try to glorify and exalt it. But while the body stands at the center of your concept of yourself, you are attacking God's plan for salvation and holding your grievances against him and his creation, that you may not hear the voice of truth and welcome it as friend. Your chosen Savior takes his place instead. It is your friend. He is your enemy. We will try today to stop these senseless attacks on salvation. we will try to welcome it instead. Your upside-down perception has been ruinous to your peace of mind. You have seen yourself in a body and the truth outside you, locked away from your awareness by the body's limitations. Now we are going to try to see this differently. The light of truth is in us, where it was placed by God. It is the body that is outside us, and not our concern. To be without a body is to be in our natural state. To recognize the light of truth in us is to recognize ourselves as we are. To see ourselves as separate from the body is to end the attack on God's plan for salvation and to accept it instead. And wherever His plan is accepted, it is accomplished already. Our goal in the longer practice period today is to become aware that God's plan for salvation has been accomplished in us. To achieve this goal, we must replace attack with acceptance. As long as we attack it, we cannot understand what God's plan for us is. We are therefore attacking what we do not recognize. Now we are going to try to lay judgment aside and ask what God's plan for us is. What is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. Then we will wait in quiet for His answer. We have attacked God's plan for salvation without waiting to hear what it is. We have shouted our grievances so loudly that we have not listened to His voice. We have used our grievances to close our eyes and stop our ears. Now we would see and hear and learn. What is salvation, Father? And ask and you will be answered. Seek and you will find. We are no longer asking the ego what salvation is and where to find it. We are asking it of truth. Be certain then that the answer will be true because of whom you ask. Whenever you feel your confidence wane and your hopes of success flicker and go out, repeat your question and your request, remembering that you are asking of the infinite creator of infinity, who created you like Himself. What is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. He will answer. Be determined to hear. 1 or perhaps 2 shorter practice periods an hour will be enough for today, since they will be somewhat longer than usual. These exercises should begin with this. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. Let me accept it instead. What is salvation, Father? Then wait a minute or so in silence, preferably with your eyes closed, and listen for His answer. Okay, that is lesson number 72 of A Course in Miracles. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. Yes, absolutely, and I can share why. Because to hold on to grievances is to dream in time by considering yourself and apparent others to be the body. But we are not the body. We are not the form. That's why this lesson reads, to be without a body is to be in our natural state. To recognize the light of truth in us is to recognize ourselves as we are. But if we are not form, if we are not the body, then what are we? We are the formless, the unseen, the unlimited. And pay attention to what these words are alluding to the invisible, to heaven, to eternal spaciousness. These words are not alluding to a human character with form and with a name and an age. Actually, these words are alluding to being nobody. And that's because we are not the form. We are the formless appearing as form. And because we are not the body, how can there be a body mind? Where would it be? The human perception is false. It is the upside down perception, the human way of thinking which contradicts God's plan for salvation. That's why this lesson reads, the ego's fundamental wish is to replace God. 100%. We are so used to thinking with the human mind, with the egoic mind, that we forgot to notice the omnipresence of God and thus stopped recognizing God as our brother and sisters. You see, collectively, we have been sharing thoughts of vengeance, competition, battles, me versus them type of mentality. And that's why this lesson is focusing on letting grievances go. Because the ego's way of handling problems and circumstances is always in opposition to God's. And that's why in regards to grievances, this lesson reads, but let us consider the kinds of things you are apt to hold grievances for. Are they not always associated with something a body does? A person says something you do not like. He does something that displeases you. He betrays his hostile thoughts in his behavior. Does this sound familiar? You see, it is precisely the ego mind that prevents us from noticing the spacious, endless mind of God. Because it is the activity of engaging in thoughts of time that seem to veil the empty mind now, which is God. That's why in this lesson it reads, but while the body stands at the center of your concept of yourself, you are attacking God's plan for salvation and holding your grievances against Him and His creation, that you may not hear the voice of truth and welcome it as friend. And what is the voice of truth? Silence, quietude, the natural state of presence, forever devoid of I, unless referring to the eternal I am. And what is eternal is always present. Having never been born, it could never die. Because the eternal is now, seemingly hiding in plain sight. That's why no one has ever lost their eternal identity or their entrance to the kingdom of heaven. Because what's not real, what's not there, has no effects on truth. That's why in regards to accepting God's plan for salvation, this lesson reads, and wherever His plan is accepted, it is accomplished already. Of course, God's plan has been accomplished, because heaven is this present moment. Heaven has always been this present moment, and heaven will always be this present moment, because there's nothing outside of the now, which also means that there's nothing outside of God. But we are free to continue dreaming in time if we wish. We are so free that we can continue to believe lies about ourselves and thus of apparent others. That's why in regards to the ego mind, this lesson reads, in trying to present himself as author of life and not death, he is a liar and a deceiver, full of false promises and offering illusions in place of truth. Yes, but thank God the truth is eternal. And that's why today's practice is asking us to lay our grievances aside and ask God what His plan for us is, by asking, what is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. And what is Father? Who is Father? Well, it tells us right here by reminding us that we are asking it from the infinite creator of infinity. And is the body infinite? Is the body eternal? Is the body unlimited? Is the body deathless? No. That's why we are not asking the body mind or any outside source for answers to tell us where salvation lies anymore. In fact, we are not asking anybody because there is nobody but the infinite creative intelligence of God, the only power, mind, and life that abides within all, and there is no other. I hope you enjoy practicing lesson number 72. Please let me know if you have any questions, and see you tomorrow for lesson number 73. Have a wonderful